How is Bible Engagement Project from the Assemblies of God using visual media to communicate the gospel? We're talking to them about it today. Hey, ministry leader, welcome to Your Visuals Matter. This is the podcast where we are helping you up your visual media game at your church or ministry. If you like our podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss any episodes. Also, lots of great content for you there on our YouTube channel, all free for you and your church. Our sponsor this season is our great friends at Outreach.com. They have a great selection of quality banners and signs, all kinds of direct mail and invite tools for you to reach your community. The theme of season 2 is how to move from ready-made visuals to crafting custom graphics and video for your church or ministry. We're spending the next few weeks doing case studies with ministries and churches on how they have crafted custom media content and the impact that it's making in their community. Let's jump in. Hey guys, I want to let you know about a great new resource from our friends at Outreach. The new invitation station provides your church with an easy way to encourage and equip your members to invite their friends and neighbors to church. The stations include a sleek black metal sign holder stand, an eye-catching 2x3 sign with messages like invite a friend or be the church, and 4 acrylic card holders that you can adhere to the sign and fill with invitation cards, all for only $147. Check them out today at outreach.com/invitation stations. That's outreach.com/invitation stations. Hey guys, my guest today is Julie Pratt. Julie is the National Children's Ministries Discipleship Director for the Assemblies of God. Julie has been involved in kids and family ministry in the local church for over 25 years. She's worked in the church and now oversees the discipleship of children at the national level at the Assemblies of God. Our church visuals team has teamed with Julie and the denomination to help them produce the Bible Engagement Project curriculum. So we'll walk through a case study of the new direction they are headed and how visual media is playing a huge role in how they are reaching the next generation. Here's my chat with Julie. Miss Julie Pratt, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Carl?
I am excellent. You know, if only I had glasses like you.
I have options. See,
I just strive.
I'm a glasses girl.
There you go. My standard black is all you get with me. I'm bland compared to you.
No, never. It's good to see you today.
You too. Thank you so much for hanging out. So tell us, I did a little intro to you leading into this, but tell us a little bit about your staff role at Assemblies of God. Tell me about kind of your role and your team. And you've transitioned to this role recently, right?
I have, yeah. I've been in local church ministry for nearly 30 years. I love the local church. And so specifically kids and family ministry in various, if you will, seats on the bus in that capacity. And I wanted to stay. I wanted to be a lifer in the local church until I got a call from my now boss, Kelly Presson, colleague and friend. And we've known each other for a number of years. And he just approached me and said he had a position that he was creating focused on children and family discipleship. And that's my sweet spot, right? So the second he said that, I was like, oh no, here we go. And, long story short, through several conversations, I just knew it was the right next step for me. So So now I've been in this role almost 2 years. I serve as the National Director of Children's Discipleship for the Assemblies of God. And really all that means is I'm a champion, I'm a developer, I'm an educator, trainer, friend, leader to other local kids pastors and even lead pastors, staff pastors, and really helping them to imagine what discipleship needs to be for today's modern family, because it's different, and we have a lot of leaders who haven't yet kind of recognized that change, or they've recognized that shift in the culture and change of a modern family but don't know what to do. So
how to get there.
here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those that are not familiar with the kind of the structure of Assemblies of God, maybe walk through, is it an association, regional, national level? Kind of walk me through how it's kind of set up for those who don't know.
Sure. Yeah. So we would consider ourselves a fellowship, a cooperative fellowship. We all kind of opt in and say, yes, we want to be a part of this. But structurally, we have obviously all of our local churches. We have over or almost 13,000 churches in the Assemblies of God USA proper. And then those are a part of what we would refer to as from different, each it's a little different. Some call themselves a district, some call themselves network. It's generally divided by state, but we do also have some that are grouped according to culture. Some we call them language districts, so that they feel like they're connected with like-minded, similar local churches. And then, and we have about, I think 63 districts, if you will, with that kind of structure. Those are then grouped in regions. And then from there, we have the national team, which is really not that big. And at our national level, we're grouped kind of according to our focus group. So, of course, I'm a part of the children's ministry team, which is, I don't know, not even 10 people. And we have a comparable team on the student ministry side. And then together we make up the next gen ministries. And so along other departments or lines, there are other groups of leaders as well, similar teams.
Gotcha. So walk me through what is My Healthy Church, and then what is the Bible Engagement Project? Walk me through what both of those are.
Sure. So My Healthy Church is just, if you will, the resource and publishing arm of the Assemblies of God. We would internally be, I guess, the owners of our product and resources, which is one of the major areas at the national level that we interact with and provide resources and training tools and that kind of thing for our local church and leaders. Bible Engagement Project is then a curriculum resource that has come out through My Healthy Church. This started in 2018, really because we began to recognize at the national office a need for discipleship resources that really promoted biblical literacy. Even among our product, we realized it was time to turn a corner turn into that and lean into that and get pretty serious about that. And so Bible Engagement Project, what I particularly love about it is that it's an age-aligned curriculum. It right now has a 3-year scope and sequence, and it goes from pre-K through adult, and each of those age learning tracks are staying inside the same place in the scope and sequence, learning together at their individual, I guess, if you will, age appropriate ways, as a great way to just keep an entire church learning together alongside each other. And actually, if I can put my little academic hat on, we see that some age-aligned learning actually facilitates discipleship in the home, because what the adult is learning and the kid is learning generates conversations about their learning in the home. And then that's one place where you see discipleship.
Is it true that it's free to Assemblies of God churches? Is that true?
It's free to anyone, not just Assembly of God churches. It is. So it started first. with Bible Engagement Project, and it has grown, and I know we're going to talk about it more a little later. But yeah, our national superintendent, he's our national leader, believes so strongly in discipleship. And we were sitting in a meeting together, and at one point he just kind of dropped this, what seemed like a minor comment of, we must give it away. And everybody kind of looked at each other around the table like, what exactly do you mean by that? Yeah. And it has turned into just a mission that there shouldn't be any barrier to any leader being able to access quality, biblically rich curriculum. And so, yes, amazing. It's now completely free.
That is amazing. All right. So what is Kidmin Roadmap? How does that fit into the picture?
Yes. So that is the next, I guess, phase that comes in alongside of and is partnering with Bible Engagement Project. So a little backstory. I have the privilege of directing a grant project that we received that's focused on a large scale, discipling children and families. And we have, through the course of that project, developed a total kids ministry strategy that we believe would help any local church, if they would implement that strategy, to have a healthy children's ministry. And our definition of that would be that they would be making disciples who make disciples, right? And that would include not just the children. It needs to be a broader and more holistic approach to discipleship. So our vehicle, if you will, is through the children's ministry, but we realize as kids pastors, if you will, we're not just focused on the kids. We're needing to be focused on the parents, the families, and realistically, we need to be focused on the volunteers and the team, the people who come in alongside of us. And so this total strategy, we believe every church needs to have one, first of all. Too many times we hear of leaders who are just kind of like planning from Sunday to Sunday. And so the thought process is, we recognize that reality. We also recognize the reality of many local leaders that they're volunteer, they may be part-time, they may or may not be paid. They just aren't, full of time and availability. And so we've said, okay, we're going to help you. We're going to make this easy, but still so rich and incredible. And hence, Kidmin Roadmap. It's getting ready to be released, and we're really, really excited about what this is going to be able to provide to local leaders.
Yeah, it looks great. You guys have done just a great job. I know it's a lot of hard work, and people don't see a lot of the back end work that goes into a lot of this. So I know that you guys have worked really hard on it. So good for you.
It guys. Is. It's a lot of work. It's worth it though. So we're really excited to see the impact of that work. So yeah.
Well, I think we talked to a lot of next gen pastors, kids pastors, and encourage them highly to find both a biblically sound and also media rich curriculum. Knowing that the visuals play a big role in how to reach kids and make the gospel memorable and sticky. Not that it's the visual that changes lives. It's the Holy Spirit, obviously, but tools in our tool bag to teach and to use to share the gospel with. So I think we found each other, I don't know, a year or so ago, maybe a few months ago, through John Hales on your team, and I've known John for a while. And you guys were looking to enhance Bible Engagement Project, more the visual components of Bible Engagement Project, right? Kind of give me a snapshot of where you were a few months ago.
Yeah. So Bible Engagement Project, as I said, was released a number of years ago, but we were really focused on the content, the teaching content of that curriculum, if you will. And so I came in and we just started really talking about this idea of discipleship and a strategy for discipleship. And as we started really talking about Bible engagement specifically, we were pleased with where it was as far as teaching content, but we recognized a gap, if you will, surrounding the media and what it offered. We had some, but it wasn't a lot. And it definitely wasn't a kit or a package like I know today's curriculum buyers are looking for. Again, because they're so busy, they need the easiest, most implementable, yet excellent as can be kind of media kit. And we were kind of maybe halfway there. And so we realized that was something leaders were looking for. And we also realized that the deficit of that was also going to have an impact on that child learner, right? Because we could get into, I think, a lot of us understand kids are so visual, right? And that it's one of the ways that they learn so readily. And we understand that we have many kinds of learners, right? We could get into all those conversations, but what we recognized was we weren't hitting the mark on that element. And so one of the first conversations we had and decisions we made was we want to beef up the visual elements to just really make BEP, Bible Engagement Project, we refer to it as BEP, even more excellent. And that was the space that we felt needed that attention. And so we found you.
Yeah.
and boy, am I glad we did.
Thank you. So what are some of the elements? Let's kind of get into that creative process. What are some of the elements that you're like, man, I really wish we had this. Let's add that. What are some of those things that you were able to add and enhance?
Yes. So we had just a very basic package. We had like a teaching video, which was great. We have a local pastor who's great at making the actual scripts and teaching videos. We had just some static slides for Bible verses or for, a teaching point. And that was about it. Not a lot of movement, not necessarily a lot of color, not theming, not motion graphics, and all of that. So we came to you and said, there's a few things we're looking for. We're looking for a package that's beefy, that every, if you will, month or volume would be themed. We want it to be both still and motion, because we know our body, right? We have among our 13,000 churches, everything from the very small, like 50-person church to the multi-site mega, right? And everything in between. And so we were looking for a package that recognized that and made, whether you're the 50-person church or you're the 50,000, I don't know that we have any quite that big, that what we could offer would be visually so capturing and just really kind of appeal to our audiences across all cultures. And that had multiple styles of delivery. So we were looking for video, still slides, visual, music, and sound effects, because we know the audible side of video has an impact on learning, so that a leader could provide excellent storytelling in their ministry, regardless of what size church they were. And so what I loved was when we came to you and kind of just said, here's what we're looking for, your team was like, all right, here's how we can do it. And just started dreaming with us about that. And we've come to this really great kind of partnership in terms of what that package would, if you will, would be. And that's what I've loved about with you guys.
Why is it important? You alluded to this earlier, but do you think that quality is important? And are we able to articulate quality? Are kids able to recognize quality? You know what I'm asking?
Well, yeah, like 100% they recognize it, right? Because the Gen Alpha, the generation that's in our kids' church right now, are truly digital natives, right? They know nothing but digital interaction. And so we can, again, I could put my research hat on again, but we can understand that they have a capacity to to look at and recognize excellence or lack of excellence within seconds, right? And their resulting decisions on whether to engage or not to engage immediately after that. And so, because we want a child to engage in God's word, we want to be sure that what we're providing to them, I guess, if you will, it gets past those quality meters, right?
Yeah,
They're filters.
Yep.
I'd like to talk, when I talk about this, a little bit about the idea of rich media, as opposed to, if you will, low media. Rich media is media that combines multiple elements in it. It has a variety of visual, audio, animation, all of these various things, sound effects, texts, all of these bring into the digital experience more visual audio interest. And as soon as we do that, I believe that kids, the learner, if you will, becomes more engaged. And as soon as they're more engaged, they have a stronger cognitive experience. And from a teacher, learner, professor perspective, that's what we're trying to do, right? We want them to engage with God's word. So we want then our media to be as quality as it can be, so that that can be elevated.
Yeah. So I think there are times, depending on the medium, like let's say YouTube. We talked. I have a sick kid downstairs right now watching YouTube, and some of the quality of the memes and the stuff like that doesn't have to be that great. So it depends on the medium. But I think coming from a curriculum standpoint, so social media, I think sometimes can be like, oh, it's just kind of a raw kind of feel. But I think the curriculum and how you're presenting that in church, I think that medium, there's a time and a place for you to spend money on quality, and there's a time and a place for us to not worry as much. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I would agree. And I think our children and young adults who are their parents have come to a place of implicit understanding about those various platforms and what should be delivered on them. So yes, in our church classrooms, spaces where we teach, there's an expectation of higher quality visual and media. And then, yes, in other settings, they're comfortable and, in fact, want a less polished, if you will, delivery. YouTube is a great example of that. And so, I mean, that could be a whole nother podcast, right? About if you're a local kids pastor, where do you put your energy, your time, your money, resources on the media? Because you can do a great YouTube channel that's not got all this, I mean, intense, high produced type of product. But then the visual side, it does matter more.
Right. That kind of brings me to, with the curriculum, you guys in theory could have just pulled ready-made resources, stuff that's already been done, and kind of tweak it to your context. Why have you chosen to spend that time, money, resources, staff, there's project management back and forth. There's a lot of details that takes place to do custom media, to craft it from scratch. Why have you guys chosen to do that as opposed to just pull it off the shelf? And we do off the shelf stuff. I'm not discounting that.
Yeah, you do. And it's great. Yeah. I would say, from the national office level, our role is to resource, our local churches. And most of our local churches don't have the know-how or the capacity to create media. Okay. So on a very practical level, we do it because we want to be able to provide the highest quality resource that's specifically designed for this strategy and curriculum that we can. And we just didn't want I don't want to use the word secondhand, but we wanted it to be specifically
Right.
and uniquely designed for our product. So on a very
Right.
practical level, I mean that was a driver for us. And then even, we have internal designers and we have teams that do these things, but we wanted an outsider's eye in terms of the ability to create a total look and feel, if you will, a brand identity that surrounded this product that we were going to be delivering. And so we felt like the investment financially to go outside was also a part of the decision, so that we could really provide the highest level and just fun. We wanted it to be fun and
Yeah.
bright, and we wanted to look at it and be like, oh my goodness, that is so great,
Yeah.
and not that our internal team couldn't do that, but there's something about the fresh eye and the fresh voice of
Mm.
resourcing it out, if you will,
Yeah.
and specifically custom designing it.
Right. So let's speak to that for a second. What are maybe the advantages, disadvantages of having an outsourced team? Obviously, you have an in-house team that can do some things. Is that team overwhelmed? Are you prioritizing certain things for in-house and outsource? How do you guys work internally with those two things?
Yes. Yeah. So we do have an in-house design team, but it's like many, it's a smaller team. We aren't the only, if you will, department in the national office that are generating product and resources. So we had to triage what they had on a large scale that was even outside of who we are and what we were trying to do. And we also even needed to look at where were their strengths in design. And ultimately, we just decided they don't have the capacity, given the scope of the package we were trying to generate. I mean, I feel like this may be overstating it, but we asked for you to generate, I think it's about 10 months worth of series work, which, if I'm correct, is about 750 individual pieces. That is a lot. That is a ton, right?
Yep.
And our team internally, to ask them to do that and all of the other departmental design pieces that come their way already, it just was going to tip a scale. It just was not doable. And so we just internally, we knew we didn't have the actual bandwidth and capacity, and they wouldn't have, even if they did tackle it, been able to meet the kind of deadlines we were asking for. And your team did incredible with the deadlines. So the advantage of it was fresh eyes, fresh voice, a team dedicated to just our project and not needing to have multiple fingers in various other projects. And those were all reasons to do it. Now, I'll say this. The one disadvantage, and we should just speak to it, was you're not in the Assemblies of God. You're not in our building, in the house, like we like to refer to it. And since you're not inside, we have had to sit together and do a lot more explanation of the, if you will, the why behind the what, right? Having clarity on the what is our standard, what is our reason, why would that matter, even the why we chose whatever translation of scripture we chose, But at the end of the day, the time investment on that has been well worth it because the end product.
And that's something that folks need to weigh when they're considering it. We work with churches and ministries like you guys all the time, that we don't want in any way to discount the in-house team. In fact, we want to champion them, come alongside them, cheer them on, work with them. And because in a lot of ways, that team or that person, one-man band in a lot of churches, is overwhelmed. And so it's, okay, what can only you tackle in-house? Testimony videos, baptism videos, things like that. Tell the stories of your church that only you're there, but the sermon bumper or the sermon graphic or those types of things. I'm using a church example, but it can be done in an outsourced way with a team like us. So kind of look and see, also weigh cost and see, we could either hire another team, another designer or video, or we can get both of those with an outsourced team. Is it going to save us? Sometimes most of the time it saves significantly. Sometimes, depending on the volume, it could make more sense to take on an in-house person. So just kind of, it's interesting to hear you guys weigh that out.
And I have on my team a creative, and we've talked about this before. And she says, even as a creative, and that this is my job, we do run into creative fatigue, right? And when you're running at a fast pace, trying to generate constantly, there are points at which even creatives run into I can't think of another creative idea for a new thing. Right. So even that would be factored in, especially for your clients who might have that only one creative. Right. There's a point at which it's difficult to keep creating and generating new.
Yeah. So there's a piece
and the church visuals.
Right. So there's one particular position when it comes to video. So I always hire motion designers. The reason for that is because a motion person can edit video, but it's not necessarily the case that a video editor can do motion design. And so that piece of motion graphics sometimes is a hard position to find, especially in a church or ministry setting. They're usually more expensive. They have a niche skill set. And so I don't know where that's here nor there, but just to say that's a key position.
Yes.
Good.
It is. And those people who have that skill set can command a higher price. So they're not necessarily sitting in your local church team. So if that's priority, and it should be in some of your media elements.
Right.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, so what is that? Maybe we've walked through some of the creative process, but maybe get in the dirt just a little bit of maybe the back and forth with our team of, you can use a unit as an example of maybe, did we give you something that like, let's tweak that, or just kind of dig in that creative process. How's that back and forth been for you?
Yeah. I would consider myself creative too. I think if you're in kids ministry, there is I think just an element of that because it goes hand in hand. However, I was so embedded in other pieces of the project that in talking with your team, we started talking about how do we want to generate the ideas? How do we want to generate the product, the themes? And then where do we go with that? And initially I was like, I want to help give ideas and work through what the look and the feel should be. And then as I started getting comps, I realized I don't need to do that. I can just trust your team to generate these ideas. And so what has been really valuable is we do have these conversations of where is this teaching content going to help direct your design team for ideas on look and feel. And so then what has happened is ultimately we've just asked your team to be the idea generators as well as the designers and artists and creators, because we realized that is a sweet spot for you. And so what started with, I think I'm going to have to be very involved, has come to here's the general look and feel, send me some comps when you're ready. And then when I get the comps, what I've really appreciated is they could be two pretty different ones. And I can send back feedback of, I like comp A, I like comp B, or I can say, I like these elements, I prefer these elements from these. Can we combine these, and can we make this change and end up with a finished product that is just really, really exciting? And so it's a very communicative process. And so while we don't necessarily have to be the idea generators anymore, your team has been really intentional in receiving every bit of feedback. I think there's been maybe once, maybe twice, where I've been like, I don't really think either of these are on target. Can we go back to the drawing board? And new product comes our way, or new comps come our way that help us really get onto the track that we want to go. So I appreciate that we're in kind of a collaborative, creative process that is responsive. Your team is really responsive to. Sometimes I don't know what I like until I see a comp, and then I go, I should probably be more of this. And in all of those ways, the team is really responsive. I also really appreciate your organization structure. You have provided to us, if you will, a dashboard where we can go in and kind of see what has been generated, the status of that project, that kind of thing. Because I do want to be aware of it, even as it's outsourced. I don't want it to just kind of exist in a black hole where I don't know what's happening. So even that has been really profitable to us.
Yeah, that's very, that would be highly important to me is, okay, I've sent it off. Where is it? What, and so both of those pieces of communication and kind of a status updates, I agree with you there.
All right, and we worked together. Sorry. I was going to say, some people who may watch this and wonder, we worked together to determine outlines, benchmarks along the way for different pieces of our project. And your team has been diligent to hit those deadlines as well. Yeah. So for someone who's unfamiliar with outsourcing, even that is a part of it. It's not just a large project and, it's like the full and finished delivery date is, but there are incremental benchmarks to help us hit and know where we are headed to. And I think I didn't know that until I started talking with you all. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I'm glad to know that it's part of this.
Right. What about the revision process? On average, and I want you to be honest with me. I'm asking you questions about us, and I'm glad I want honest feedback. Tell me about the revision process and about, on average, how many rounds it takes to hit. Are we talking like within 2, we're there, or is it 5-10 rounds of revisions?
I would say it depends on the piece, right? What we're talking. In most cases, I'd say 90%, 95% of the time, it's 1 or 2 rounds because you start from a really great place. We're not starting from a blank white space. So for the most part, and in terms of how quick that turnaround is, it's very quick. So within a day or two, we're seeing the revision come back to us for review, feedback, or approval. In some cases, I can say, for instance, one example, we had a bumper video that came to us that visually was delightful. And as we started watching it, we're like, you know what? It had music, but what it needed to make it next level were some sound effects. It needed noises. It had like nature elements, creation, clouds, and rain, some various things that we were like, this would just be incredible if we just added another layer. And so that went through a few more, bounce backs, because we started saying, this one, we could use a bee sound here and a water sound. And we heard it and it sparked another, hey, what if we did a water splash and a wind sound? And so the team was willing to work with us as we suddenly began dreaming of more for that particular piece. But
Do
again,
you
super fast turnaround. So I'd say within a week, we had that nailed down.
do you feel like on design especially? Do you feel like we could have done that in Canva? Like, do you feel like the design is worth the investment to get there? That like if you receive a comp, or you're like, I could have done that. Like, what's the discrepancy
Mm.
there?
Yet, well, succinctly, no. What you're generating for us is not Canva quality product. And again, I have a designer on my team, and part of the decision was to prioritize her time on other things. So she's very knowledgeable, and I can't even tell you how many times she's like, "Oh my goodness, this is such quality product. You have um, an eye, you have a skill level to generate." Those media elements that it's just well beyond a desk creative has the
Yeah.
ability to generate, and again, that's the win. It's what we're
Yeah.
looking for.
Well, thank you for letting me ask you those questions. I certainly was not trying to dig for
Of
compliments,
course.
but thank you for that. Because um,
Listen, I am a believer in church visuals, so
thank you, thank you. All right, so a
for
couple more
sure.
questions as we wrap. So the feedback, and I know that you guys, you're kind of in your first year of rolling this out when we're recording this. But tell me some of the feedback that you've gotten from the churches or ministry leaders. Maybe I don't want to really compare it from your past stuff. I don't want to disparage anybody else,
Mhm.
or also be honest about our work as well. But maybe the feedback of how they're using these visuals to communicate the gospel. That's the key.
Yeah. I have, so I have individuals that beta test it before any public rollout. So I get a lot of feedback from those individuals. And what I love is those individuals are experienced or are kind of fit a specific demographic, like a small church or a volunteer leader or a very experienced kids pastor who has utilized other curriculums that have been extremely media rich. So I'm looking for really good quality feedback. And what I'm getting by and large across all of those fronts are just things like those kits are next level. I have one leader who has used a very media rich curriculum for a number of years. And I get texts from him all the time. Those kids are incredible. Just the fact that the little elements are even animated is just,
Hmm.
incredible, because that's not necessarily something we've delivered in the past. And he appreciates the way that sets an environment in his room for his
Mm-hmm.
kids' church. I have another leader, and I love this, who said, I love this because she said, I love the content, the teaching content. It's so good. But the media helps these kids to understand the Bible application with so much depth. And for me, that's the win, right? I
Yep.
love environments. I love all these things. But and this is a volunteer leader. She's not a trained kids pastor. She just saw a gap and is filling the need, but has recognized by adding this media into what already existed with teaching content, she sees how it is helping the kids in her church to understand the Bible as God's word, and more than just a group of stories, but that it has a application to their everyday life. And she directly correlates that to the media that we've been
Yeah.
able to add to that. And that, I think that speaks to what I was saying earlier about how it helps the child to engage and to therefore really begin to learn more and encounter Jesus through it. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So I want to land there because that's the point. That's the win, right? Is
Absolutely.
our sweet spot is creating the visual content. Your sweet spot is creating the teaching content. They're not, they
Yeah.
have to go together. If you were to just have great visuals and not great Bible teaching, what's the point? To entertain? I don't know. And then vice
Right.
versa, if you have great teaching and the visuals are lower quality, it's harder for the teaching content to stick. But when they're both together, when our team can team with a team like you guys, that's when we're really seeing some stuff happen. And by stuff, I mean kids learning the gospel and being discipled. And so that's one thing that we really value. And we only serve churches and ministries because of it, is because we are after helping you and in turn helping the leader communicate the gospel and it be memorable and they disciple their kids. So that's kind of land on that point.
Yes.
Why do just kind of put us in a bow here. Why do visuals matter, and what would you suggest to ministry leaders looking to enhance both the teaching and the visual element?
Yeah. I use a phrase a lot when I talk about all things related to teaching kids, that memorable is portable. And so I really believe Jesus made truths memorable, right? He demonstrated the ways to communicate the gospel, the truth of it, through so many things. Like, he was the object lesson guy. He was telling stories, right? Throughout the Gospels, we hear, he told a story to teach them. So he was using this same thought process to show us how engaging our listeners, in our case, children, helps them to connect to internalize, to understand that this matters to me, that everything I read in the Bible has something to do with my everyday life. And I just feel so strongly that in today's world, we're not changing the gospel message. We're delivering it in a memorable way that goes with them and helps them to most effectively have an encounter with Jesus. And when that happens, we believe it changes their lives and they begin to become disciples. And that's ultimately the goal, that every person we're having the privilege to minister to, that they become a disciple of Jesus, who then are lifelong disciplers themselves. And so I just think it is one of the more critical elements of what we're doing in ministry to communicate the gospel message.
Well, Julie, thank you so much for your time, all you're doing at Assemblies of God at the national level. You're making such a big impact. And I know that, the day-to-day, it can be a grind, as we kind of started this conversation with, that people, it is a back and forth. It is a creative process. It is let's work hard to get this right and deliver it well to the people that we're serving. So I applaud you guys. You guys are working really hard for the kingdom. So great job. And thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're excited to partner with you. So thank you for understanding that and doing your part to help us communicate the gospel as effectively as possible. We appreciate you.
Ministry is hard. As a ministry leader, you wear many hats. You may be a church planter, a senior pastor, a communications director, a worship leader, or all of the above. You may want to visually communicate the gospel in a compelling way to see life change happen in your community. But you may not have the time or creative team to make it happen. We have a heart to help you. We are Church Visuals. We are former church staff members who know the need for high-quality visual media and understand the constraints of your budget and resources. We have a team of incredible graphic designers and video producers that can come alongside you to produce custom graphics and video for your ministry. If you need something quick, we have also built a growing library of 40,000 plus instant downloadable visuals for adult, student, and kids ministries that you can edit and adapt for your church. We're also building a full training platform to show you how to do everything you need to present your visuals in a compelling way. We've impacted over 60,000 churches worldwide, helping them visually communicate the gospel of Jesus Christ. Your visuals matter. We would love to be on mission with you. Find us today at churchvisuals.com.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our Church Visuals YouTube channel for more free content. As we close this week, here's your Church Visuals tip of the week. When choosing a curriculum for your kids' ministry, choose one that is biblically sound and media rich. In working with several curriculum providers in the space, we have seen an increase in their sales and impact when they've added more and more media content to their offerings for churches. It makes a difference. It really does. Adding more media content to the curriculum, especially games, they're seeing more impact. All right, if you want to reach the people that you want to reach for Jesus, your visuals matter. I'll see you next week. Your Visuals Matter has been a podcast presentation of Church Visuals. Executive produced by Carl Barnhill. Edited by AJ Schubert. Title and show graphics by Angie Lomas. For more resources to help you visually communicate the gospel, visit churchvisuals.com.